Welcome back. We're in conversation with General Pervez Musharraf, the former army chief and president of Pakistan. Donald Trump is talking about ISIS, going after ISIS as priority number one. Who created ISIS?
Yeah, there are a number of possibilities. A lot of people talk about various, maybe they were a creation in Iraq because of sectarian issues. Others say that it is Syrian creation in Syria. But who really created? I think I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't like to pinpoint who really did.
Are you following what's happening in Syria?
Yes, I do.
And what do you make of the situation?
Well, it's a very dangerous situation from the Islamic world point of view. What is happening in Iraq and Syria and Lebanon even has sectarian overtones, which are bad.
The gas attack on children.
Yes, that is terrible. Now, who did it? The Syrian government is denying. So one has to examine who did it. Things are not that black and white in such incidents.
And then we have Donald Trump's administration saying that it's not important for us to see Assad go out, not at this point. Is this a win for then Iran and Russia?
Yes. That is a change by the United States. It is a win for them, yes.
And where does this leave the Syrian people who've suffered, who stood up against a ruler and were propped up by a government from outside?
Unfortunately, if we look at this region, the whole region of the Middle East, this is a tribal society. This has been a tribal society. These countries came into being in 1924, I think, beyond 1924. There was no Iraq or Jordan
They're very old civilizations.
Lebanon or Syria or Saudi Arabia for that matter in 1924, till 1924. So they were tribal societies, tribes influencing various regions and areas. Now, so they have been run by very autocratic rulers. So if you remove one, you suffer chaos and anarchy.
It's good to have dictators in this region?
An autocratic ruler, surely it is good.
In the subcontinent, we've seen terrorism over the decades. The West is feeling the heat now, and their most obvious response is what has come to be called Islamophobia. If you were to advise Europe, if you were to advise the US on how to deal with this and how to balance this whole situation, what would your advice be?
No, my advice will be that don't link terrorism to Islam. That is a big folly, and that's not true. Terrorism has no religion. So Islamophobia is this, that anything that happens is, if there's a Muslim, it's Islamic. But if there's a Christian, it is not Christian. It is that the man is psychologically deranged, or he is a psychic case or a law and order issue. So why is it made into Islam when a person is done something, happens to be a Muslim?
Do you think the shift to the right is palpable in Europe now?
Yes, it is.
And does that bother you?
It does. It does, certainly.
What then happens in this current geopolitical scenario for countries like Pakistan, which according to critics have used religion as an instrument of foreign policy?
No, I don't think we use religion as an instrument of foreign policy. Who says that?
Hamid Karzai for one.
Karzai?
Ji.
Karzai has been anti-Pakistan always. So I don't take his words that seriously.
You talk about how Muslims are treated. You talk about how they're perceived. Pakistan has often questioned and decried India's perceived mistreatment of Muslims on the Indian subcontinent. But what about Muslims in China?
Why are we talking about that? Muslims in China?
Muslims in China are being told that fasting on Ramadan is not okay, that beards, which are being called abnormal beards, will not be allowed. The Uyghur Muslim issue has snowballed into a major issue and concern for China, and yet we see no protest from Pakistan. Why the double standards?
No, there is no double standard. I know that there is an ETIM there which is involved in terrorist acts in the western parts of China. And if they are taking some actions there, to curb terrorism.
They're persecuting
that is valid.
the entire ethnic population. My basic question is, why has Pakistan not raised any concerns about it?
No, I don't think we should raise any concerns. It's their internal affair, and they are. I don't think they are doing it as much as you are quoting.
Okay, that's a convenient answer, I would say. Hosni Mubarak, let's talk about Egypt, has come out of jail after 6 years, but many people who protested against him are still behind bars. Would you say that America's experiments with democracy and changing priorities have left behind more mess than where we started from?
Okay, I would like to go back to the last question. When you talk of China, what disturbs me is you don't talk of India, isn't it? Much more is happening in India.
I'll
But
talk
we are
about
quiet
India in a
about
bit.
it.
We will
I
come
would
to
like
India.
to discuss
yes,
that also.
I'm sure. If you want to say
Okay.
something, go ahead.
Oh, obviously, there's total anti-Muslim activity going on. Secular, you've lost your secular credentials.
No, India hasn't lost its secular credentials.
Absolutely,
It's very much
you
a
have
secular
lost.
country.
You have absolutely lost your secular credentials. You are anti-Muslim. You believe in, I think, the party which has got elected. Look at who's the chief minister of UP. I mean, we know what his credentials are. They are totally anti-religious.
Let me say, India is not a monolith. India is a mix of many cultures, many parties, many religions, and all those religions are living. You should come to India.
No.
You should come to India and see how people are doing there.
No, I'm afraid then you are not being realistic.
Okay.
I think it's a totally Hindu dominance, Hindu supremacy is believed by the government and the BJP, the party.
I'll give you an example. There's a
Which
place
is very
called
different
there's a
view.
place called Deoband in Uttar Pradesh, sir, which is a Muslim majority region, which voted for the BJP among many others in this
Okay.
election. So
Anything.
it is people of all religions, castes, and creeds who voted for a particular
I
party.
think they will realize their mistake, whoever voted. Otherwise, I think you're losing your secular credentials. A country, you are blaming Pakistan. Pakistan's public is most progressive and enlightened. They don't vote any religious party up into elections. They don't form the government. Whereas you, a Hindu fundamentalist
That's a lot of adjectives and unfair, I would say.
It is. I mean, how can it be unfair? The Hindu supremacy is believed by BJP and the chief minister of UP, which is your biggest province. I mean, this is the biggest. There, what is happening? What is he talking?
What is happening?
I mean, he's an extremist.
Give me an example.
He's got Hindu.
What has he done?
He's talking a lot.
We go back to what we were talking about, Hosni Mubarak.
Yeah, what did you ask now?
I was asking you, do you believe that this was an experiment, a misguided experiment in democracy by America, and then they change their minds and go out, and Egypt is worse than it was before?
Well, I would say yes, United States and the West do vary their views and their attitudes in various countries as far as democracy is concerned. Where it doesn't suit them, they leave democracy aside. And wherever it suits them, they go in for, like in the Palestinians, when Hamas won, they thought this is not democratic. So I think in all the Muslim countries, there have been variations of attitudes towards democracy, what kind of democracy in every one of these North African Muslim countries and the Middle Eastern countries.
Let's talk about Pakistan and the extremism you said was prevalent in India. Shrines, Sufi shrines are being targeted. There are bomb blasts at mosques almost every week. What is happening in Pakistan?
No, there's no bomb blast every week. The situation is much different, very much different. There are a few. What is happening is Pakistan is terrorism, certainly.
But Sufi shrines being targeted, the moderate Islam being targeted by the hardline factions.
No, one of the major issues.
This Sunday there was something about cleansing. People were being cleansed at a shrine.
No,
and they were
I
killed.
think the major issue is Indian intrusion in Pakistan, in our internal affairs.
Which is?
They are carrying out sabotage.
So those
They are
attacks at
they
the
are
shrines
assisting
were,
separatism.
you're saying the attacks at the shrines were by Indian agents?
Possible. I wouldn't be able to say
That's
yes.
a lot of conjecture, I would say.
Yes, there has to be conjecture. I'm not privy to intelligence details, but I know for sure India's involvement through Afghanistan in KPK and Balochistan and elsewhere also, possibly in Sindh and Karachi.
Balochistan is making international headlines because the situation continues to fester. There are human rights violations despite international condemnation.
Okay. That is all India concocted. You are assisting the separatists who are a very, very small minority and who can't even go to their own houses, which I know. You are helping them internationally
On
to
the question of
this.
minority, we did a report, WION did a report inside Balochistan, and we were told by people, many of whom were wary of coming on camera. They said that with the help of the Chinese, we are being turned into a minority in our own province.
Nonsense. I mean, that is what you are, that is what I am saying. It is Indian propaganda around the world, in the region, directly inside Pakistan, through Afghanistan, which is cooking up all these details.
So what do you say about...
Do you know the demographic pattern of Balochistan?
You tell me.
50% are Pakhtuns,
Yes.
and they are all pro-Pakistan. Now take Baloch. If you take the southern part, there are Barohis and they are totally pro-Pakistan. There are only about 3 tribes out of about over 100 who have been using the tribal leaders have been using their clout to blackmail the government and promote their own causes. And they are the ones who get involved in anti-Pakistan activities. They are the ones where India intrudes.
Would you say the Balochis are Pakistani nationals?
Yes, of course.
So when Pakistani nationals stand up and applaud the Indian Prime Minister for raising Balochistan, when Pakistani nationals say that this is not right, that there are human rights violations, why do you call it propaganda? Why do you not, or your government for that matter, the Pakistan government, address it? Because it's your people from your country
who are saying it. Because they are all lies. They are all lies. There is no human right violation. There is anti-terrorism actions going on. What are you doing in Kashmir? Look at the army that you've deployed.
The army has to, because it's the border.
There.
It's the border. You have to deploy, and you know the reasons better than I do.
In Assam, what is your army doing? What are you doing against Naxalites and Maoists in your eastern districts? What are you doing? Isn't the military supposed to ensure your internal security? That is what Pakistan is doing in Balochistan. Anyone who is anti-Pakistan will be crushed, certainly.
Okay, you mentioned Kashmir. India has always wanted to resolve Kashmir. And before you...
I laugh at that.
Yes, okay. So one of the first decisions that the Indian Prime Minister took, sir, after taking office, after being elected, was to invite Nawaz Sharif for his oath-taking ceremony, despite criticism domestically. That was a bold decision. That was a gesture of friendship. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't believe in cosmetics. I believe in substance. Substance is moving forward on the disputes. Move forward.
But you have to talk.
Has he said, let's sit down and talk of Kashmir?
I think he tried to sit down and talk. I think he tried to he tried to go down that road, and look what we got, Uri.
Uri or anything will keep happening till you resolve the core issue. These are people who are agitated. There is a freedom struggle going on. You killed Burhan Wani, he was killed, and therefore after that 90 people more were killed. They were all terrorists, the 90 people killed. And thousands blinded. They were terrorists.
They were not, see, just like you said, if people are misguided, if the young are misguided and raise their voice against the country will deal with them. No, they should not be killed. It's extremely unfortunate. But that is what is happening. That is what is happening in Balochistan.
No, it's not.
The question I'm trying to ask you is that the Indian, all right, is that the Indian government extended a hand and it was struck back. And so when we talk about resolving a situation, it has to come from both sides.
There is no extending of hand. This was all cosmetics. On one side, you're extending a hand like that, these cosmetics of invitations and going for a birthday, wishing a happy birthday to the Prime Minister and all that. These are cosmetics. And what happens after that? You go back to your country and abuse Pakistan, and you're talking of threatening voices, what is happening on the line of control, what is happening inside Balochistan, how you are assisting Brahm Dag, all these are
I'm sure you wouldn't
actions
take it
against
lying low
Pakistan.
as a leader of a country if your country's interests were being harmed. Wouldn't you say that given Modi's stature, both domestically and internationally, this is the best time, if at all, for the two countries to be able to resolve these issues? He has the position, he has the standing, but he has to see the will from the other side as well.
Well, unfortunately, no, he has to have the will himself first.
Why are you anti-Modi? Let me ask you. I've never seen you say anything positive about the Indian Prime Minister. He has an amazing mandate.
Well, let me say something positive. He's doing well for India. Yeah. But he's not doing well for the region. He's not doing well for Pakistan. He's not doing well for the Muslims. So I mean,
Which Muslims?
I'm being realistic. Modi he's extremely offensive
To you?
His statements, and not only statements. Look at statements of the government, their plans, their actions, which substantiate whatever they talk.
For example?
They are totally against Pakistan.
No, you said their words and examples and actions.
They are talking of destabilizing Pakistan. They are talking of non-military solution to Pakistan.
Who said destabilize Pakistan?
No. We are reading articles. We are even watching your television, where even a general has sat down and spoken about it. Your think tanks writing
the general
articles.
Statement, I think, is, and I think a lot of it could be hearsay, because if you can tell me which leader when said that we are going to destabilize Pakistan, I'll take it. But when a general after an Uri attack says that we will reply at a time and place of our choosing, that is only to be expected. As a former general, would you have dealt with it differently?
No, I would have certainly resolved. I was trying to resolve the dispute, the core issue, the dispute.
Then what happened?
Resolve the dispute, Uri and all will go off. Obviously. If you don't, Uri will keep happening. This will keep happening because there are people within Kashmir, your part of Kashmir, who are rising. The youth have risen. The whole youth has risen now in support of the killing of
the young
Burhan
from
Wani
Kashmir
and the
are UPSC toppers. The young from Kashmir are winning medals. We saw the story of an 8-year-old girl. The young from Kashmir want to study, sir. They want to go to... This is not cosmetic. It's the future of a whole generation. They want to study. They want to go to school.
The people are the children. Have risen against India. They don't want to be part of India.
That is how you want to see it.
There is no doubt about that. If you I will never get convinced whatever you say.
Okay.
Now, comparing that with Balochistan, and I don't know what we are talking. Balochistan, there is nothing happening in Balochistan. It is a few people who are being encouraged again, the raw intrusion. And that is what is happening. And you are the ones who propagate them all over. This Brahm Dag is a great man. Baloch, you get these Baloch separatists who are there sprinkled around in London. When I used to visit them, they used to shout around whenever I came. A few people, maybe a dozen or 2 dozen standing. And so also in the United States, you encourage them to you use your influence in the Congress and ask a congressman to speak about human rights violations in Balochistan. Who does that? India, through your clout with the congressmen in the United States. I know all this.
If it's all lies, why should Pakistan be bothered?
Sorry?
If it's all lies, why should Pakistan be bothered?
We are not bothered. We have to deal with it, because you then go ahead and you are training our terrorists. You are arming them. You are financing them and pumping them into Balochistan. That is where we get bothered.
So you said that the Indian Prime Minister isn't doing enough for the region. What would you like him to do? What more?
Peace in the region. Peace in the region, which really involves resolution of Indo-Pakistan dispute.
But he can't do it single-handedly. The other side has to be willing.
No, he doesn't want to do it. The other hand, it is his hand. The other hand is forward. The major player of the region, the big force, the Bada Bhai, is India.
Okay.
It is the Bada which has to be accommodating, which has to show magnanimity.
Right.
When the small one does it, all the negative connotations are given to it. India must understand this. Don't be a big country with a small heart.
You always say this. You always say this.
Yes, because I mean it.
I have another argument for this. You say they have a small heart. I would say that literally India has shown Darya Dili. We've had our differences. We've had wars. We've had face-offs. India never turned off the taps.
Turned off the tap? Which tap?
The Indus Treaty was never touched. India could have.
Well, India must realize that you stop our waters. It's a very serious issue. It's an extremely serious issue.
Pakistan was very jittery. We did not have talks for 2 years until earlier this month or last month.
I mean, how can you stop Pakistan's waters?
When you say India is not large-hearted, I'm saying that India doesn't touch things which it believes are
But if you are
sacrosanct.
going to open a new issue, that is large-heartedness.
No, I'm giving you an example, sir.
India has to...
There's a lot of pressure domestically.
Accommodation has to come from the larger. That is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
It cannot come from the smaller.
And I'm telling you that India is being accommodating because there is pressure domestically
India
that we
wants to
should revisit
suppress.
the treaty.
India, if you know India, what India's attitude is towards Nepal, towards Sri Lanka, even Bangladesh. I mean, India supported them in their independence. But the people of Bangladesh don't like India. I don't think so at all. Why?
I don't know
What is
where
the
you.
reason?
I don't know where you. How do you infer all of this? But we were talking about the Prime Minister, and you're saying that he has to do more. You came very close to signing a peace deal. Can you share with us the contours and why it didn't work out?
Well, it could have worked out. Had Prime Minister Manmohan Singh come to Pakistan in 2007, we had decided that we must sign a treaty either on Sir Creek or Siachen, if not Kashmir. Kashmir was in the process of being drafted. The other, Sir Creek and Siachen, we had agreed on many things. It just needed a signature. But he unfortunately didn't come. And we slid back to square one.
When we talk about rapprochement, we talk about confidence-building measures. And many in India feel that one of the most obvious CBMs would be to hand over the most wanted terrorists being sheltered in Pakistan. Dawood Ibrahim has been there for more than 2 decades. Hafiz Saeed is there, who you don't agree on. But wouldn't that be a good start for Pakistan when you say that the onus is only on India? Pakistan can surely do its bit.
No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot happening. We have to see it holistically. I mean, we are talking about Bahram Dag is sitting in India. He goes to India. He's not sitting in India. A lot of our terrorists, you are harboring them. But
For example, I'm giving you names. You give me names.
Issues.
You give me names.
We need to resolve the disputes. You can't take tactical issues. We have to go to the strategic issue of resolution of the dispute.
But resolution has to have specifics, sir. I'm asking you specifically.
No,
and you're not giving me names.
It doesn't. You don't resolve disputes by handing over one man or your demand. And
how would you recommend they did it, given the circumstances, today's circumstances?
What?
The resolution.
We should sit down
And what?
And reach an agreement on all the 3 disputes instead of opening a 4th one, which is the water issue.
Do you see this issue being resolved in your lifetime?
At the moment, with the attitude of the present government in India, I don't see it.
You certainly have an axe to grind against the present government in India.
Yes, absolutely.
Why so? I fail to understand.
Because we know their strategy, what your thinkers, what your strategists supposedly, what your think tanks are writing and talking. They are talking of economic strangulation. They are talking of international and regional isolation of Pakistan. They are talking of internal destabilization and weakening the army. This is what they are talking. This is what the talk is going on in India. So what do you get? The defense has to be up. We have to be strong. We have to meet this challenge.
Defense has to be up. Your defense budget 2015-16, 781 billion Pakistani rupees. That's $7.45 billion. Defense budget for the last fiscal, $8.2 billion. At a time when Pakistan has so much poverty, illiteracy, many issues. When you talk about destabilizing Pakistan, do you not believe that this is a case of misplaced priorities? You should look at rebuilding Pakistan and focusing on the fundamentals rather than spending all the money there.
The responsibility of a leader when I came in, I defined it, first of all, to the people and the state. But I then thought that if our security is threatened, if we have an existential threat, then security comes first. We don't care about how much we have to spend.
That was a general thinking.
Security comes first.
That was a general thinking.
So therefore, let me complete now. Now therefore, there is every individual Pakistani believes that we must have a strong force to counter India. There is no doubt in that. They don't misusing funds and all that is not there, where it is spent on the military and the strength of the military for the security of Pakistan.
So education is not
no
important.
doubt. But when you're talking of these figures, I don't know the figures, but do you know how much India is spending on defense? Do you know that they are the biggest importers of foreign weapons?
But India doesn't have the kind. India is also one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Pakistan is not. So
Yes.
so before you compare the two,
in my time we were growing faster than India, but yet the growth of India on defense was much more. Do you know how much you are spending on your? I don't have the figures. Next time you come, I'll have the figures.
That'll be good. That'll be good. What do you say to those who say that Kashmir, that all of these issues are the raison d'etre for the Pakistan army? If these issues get resolved, why would there be need for such a big army? Where does the army's power go? So it is in the army's interest.
Will remain always. Even if we resolve the Kashmir dispute, the need of the army in Pakistan will always remain till such time India keeps threatening Pakistan. It will always remain. This is another perception that is being created by India, that it is the Pakistan army which doesn't want these disputes to be resolved because its importance will go down. Its importance will never go down.
Is it in charge? Is the elected government in charge or the army in charge?
No, it's the elected government in charge, certainly.
But the army takes decisions.
In the army?
Yes.
The army has a special place in Pakistan. Every country has its own dynamics. In Pakistan, we have our own internal dynamics. And Pakistan military does play a role in those internal dynamics. It may not be like that in India. Well, that is different. We have our own issues and we deal with them in our own way.
Thank you very much, General Musharraf. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.